An atmospheric river taking one last aim at the region tonight. The timing of the storm on this weather impact alert day.
I was worried about it with the wind the last couple of nights in the saturated ground.
Plus, a massive tree falls down onto a Gladstone apartment complex. Hear from neighbors uprooted from their homes. Plus, the death toll continues to climb as 6 U.S. crew members are killed in a plane crash over Iraq. And a fire victim pulled to safety by a passerby in southeast Portland. More on their quick thinking up next at noon. Giving you a live look today from our Rose City Sky Camera, where we can see it is a lot of gray skies out there, but we are getting a much needed break from that rain. It will be short-lived though, as another heavy band of moisture is set to move in for the evening commute. Good afternoon and thanks for joining us here at noon. I'm Stephanie Domerat. Overnight, we did see multiple landslides and downed trees across the metro area. We are issuing another weather impact alert as this atmospheric river is set to make its final punch tonight. Let's turn things over to Chris McGinnis, who's joining us from the Weather Center with a look at that. Hey, Chris.
Yeah, good afternoon, Stephanie. Up over 3 inches of rain officially at PDX and more to come. As you mentioned, the flood watch continues now through Saturday afternoon. The rain, which has given us a break a little bit here in Portland and points south, will be pivoting back southward as we go into the afternoon and evening and become quite heavy at times. So we're going to tack on additional rainfall to some of these already very impressive totals. Mount Hebo, unofficially, almost 8.5 inches of rain. That's up in the Coast Range in far western Yamhill County. Tillamook, just over 6 inches of rain. Castle Rock, just shy of 6 inches of rain. Forest Grove, about 3.5. PDX out at the airport, about 3.15 and counting, with, again, maybe an additional 3/4 of an inch of rain in the forecast tonight. So steady rain returns this evening. It will be heavy at times for probably a few hours as we get deeper into the evening, like probably 6, 7, 8 o'clock. And I'll show you more on that with Futurecast coming up in just a few minutes. We mentioned the flood watch. Standing water, ponding on roads, some river flooding is possible. And again, we have had a couple of landslides across the area. It is possible with more rain that we accentuate that threat as we go into the afternoon and even beyond. We can get slides even after the rain wraps up. Here's where the rain is right now. It's been misting lightly here in Portland, but steadier rain is up towards Columbia County, Cowlitz County, and points north. That band, as you look at this over the last 3 hours, has really been focused right in that area, but that will pivot southward and bring us again a renewed threat for heavy rain later on this afternoon. 55 with a gusty south wind right now in Salem. It's 55 with a south breeze at Vancouver. It's 54 right now at the airport with a south breeze at 17. Occasional rain at 2 o'clock. The rain then becomes steadier and heavier as we get towards 5, 6, 7 o'clock. And then I think in the window about 8 to midnight is when models are suggesting the next round of really intense rain passes on through the area. And again, I'll walk you through that hour by hour with Futurecast coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Chris, thank you. And as Chris mentioned, all of this rain is causing landslides in Portland. This is just one of those slides that happened overnight in southwest Portland. That's where we find Sunrise reporter Thomas Schultz, who has tips from officials on just how to stay prepared for events like this.
We are at the Indian Hills apartment on Southwest 35th here in Southwest Portland, and you can see behind us this parking lot to the apartment is completely blocked off due to a landslide that happened Thursday afternoon. You can see that part of a tree looks like it's actually crashed into the apartment complex. 12 units were evacuated because of this. This landslide comes as Portland is seeing the wettest 3 days of the year so far, with constant rain over the past couple of days. Thursday, Portland fire crews were here monitoring the slope and are warning residents to be prepared because more landslides like this one could happen.
Put together a bag that's got a couple weeks worth of stuff, you know. Make sure your medicines are with you. If you have medical equipment that is operated off a battery, make sure that those batteries are charged. You know, check in on your neighbor if you haven't seen him.
And it's not just landslides we're seeing. Flooding is a concern too. In Washington County, the sheriff's office says deputies rescued 2 drivers who got stuck in floodwaters Thursday afternoon. That was near Northwest Rock Creek Boulevard and Rock Creek Court. And with all this rain, it's really important to have that go kit that Rick Graves mentioned. Portland city government says it's also good to have an emergency evacuation plan in case you and your family need to leave your home quickly. There are also locations in southeast and southwest Portland to get free sandbags to prevent flooding. And what's important here, what many people forget, It's really important to clean out your gutters and keep your roof clean so there's no clogging, which can lead to leaks or structural damage. And of course, if you see any high spots of water in the road, like they saw in Washington County, it's really important to always turn around. Never try to drive through that water because it's uncertain just how high it really is. In Southwest Portland, Thomas Schultz, KGW News.
Important advice, and creeks are running high, as Thomas mentioned, there on the east side of the city. Here's a look at Johnson Creek on Thursday near Mill Park in southeast Portland. The water level is currently dropping, but it is forecast to rise once again, peaking near moderate flood stage later tonight. If your home butts up against rising water, the city of Portland has a couple of sandbag sites, one in Lands Park on the east side and the other in Gabriel Park on the west side of Portland. Meantime, heavy winds and rain saturated the ground last night in Gladstone. A large tree came crashing down into an apartment building. The good news is no one was hurt in this, but it did force a couple of people to evacuate their homes. Now, one neighbor we spoke with said he heard that crash.
It's just an old, humongous tree, and I was worried about it with the wind the last couple of nights in the saturated ground and being right next to the creek, and sure enough, so it's not a big surprise, but it was quite an incident.
Clackamas Fire was on scene to help residents there. The Red Cross is also helping those who suddenly found themselves without another place to stay that night. It's a similar story in Washington. Multiple trees fell across the Seattle area overnight. Take a look at this. This is in Everett, where a massive cherry tree split in half, crashing down on a home. Crews say no one was hurt in this, thankfully. And this is the scene in North Seattle, where a hemlock fell onto 3 properties due to high winds there. Neighbors say it was a miracle no one was home when that tree came down. And when trees do come down, there's the possibility for power lines to come down with them. If you see a down power line, do not touch it or anything else that the line may be touching. It's very important to always assume that power lines are active. So you want to stay at least 50 feet away. That's a bit longer than the length of a city bus, for example. And if a power line falls on your car, do not get out of the car unless there's an urgent threat like a fire. If you find a downed power line, immediately call 911 or your utility provider. And stay with us here on KGW for more weather coverage as we track not only the rain totals, but any flooding or slides happening around our region. You can look for the latest information always on our website or on KGW+. And new at noon, one person is in the hospital as crews work to figure out what caused a house fire in southeast Portland. According to Portland Fire and Rescue, it happened just before 9 o'clock this morning on Southeast Tibbetts and 52nd Avenue. Before crews arrived, Portland Fire says a passerby found the victim in the front yard and pulled them to safety.
A Northwest Natural employee happened to be driving by and turned back they called 911, and the Northwest Natural employee was able to help the fire victim get across the street and away from the house.
Crews say when they arrived, the front of the house was fully engulfed in flames. The victim suffered multiple burns and was taken to a hospital. The cause of this fire is under investigation. Just within the last couple of hours, we are learning the crew aboard a U.S. military refueling plane has died after it crashed in western Iraq. NBC's Alice Barr has the details.
The U.S. military now confirming all 6 American service members on board a refueling aircraft died when it crashed in western Iraq, noting the incident happened during Iran war operations but was not due to hostile or friendly fire, and that the circumstances are under investigation.
Please keep these brave airmen, their families, friends, and units in your thoughts.
That amid a pair of attacks raising concerns about potential threats to the homeland. In Michigan, an armed man drove his car into a Detroit area synagogue and down a hall while a preschool was in session. Security guards at Temple Israel shot at the driver and he was found dead inside. Investigators calling it
a targeted act of violence against the Jewish community.
No children or temple staff were hurt in the attack, but one security officer was injured, and roughly 30 officers were hospitalized for smoke inhalation after the suspect's car caught on fire. The Department of Homeland Security now identifying that suspect as 41-year-old Ayman Mohammed Ghazali, a U.S. citizen originally from Lebanon.
It's a terrible thing. We're going to be right down to the bottom of it.
While in Norfolk, Virginia, a shooting at Old Dominion University is being investigated as a potential act of terrorism. Investigators say 36-year-old Mohammed Baylor Jallo targeted an ROTC class, killing Army Lieutenant Colonel Brandon Shaw and injuring 2 other Army personnel, before authorities say a group of brave students subdued the suspect, who also died. Jallo, a former Virginia National Guard member, was arrested in 2016 for attempting to provide material support to ISIS, according to court documents that also show he pleaded guilty to a terrorism-related charge and was released from prison under supervision in 2024. In new details, a local Lebanese official tells NBC News that several members of the Michigan synagogue attacker's family were killed in an Israeli airstrike in southern Lebanon last week. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.